is. It's time for another Friday edition of the Art of Encouragement, coming to you live 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Nick Patterson, and with me we have the amazing, the one, the only Mark Gai. So thank you, Mark, for being here with me today and for being here every single week. You have the gift of presence and you encourage me so often, and I don't tell you that enough. But thank you for being an encouragement in my life, Mark Guy.
Likewise, thank you, my friend. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. One thing I wanted to share is a lot of things have been happening like every week, every day. And we want to hear from you. Let us know what are some of the challenges you're going through, some of the wins. Reach out to us. We really want to talk to you, listen, hear you, and give you that support and encouragement that we can. I feel like the more you give, the more you will multiply. You will multiply in your life. And I know, Nick, we haven't met last week for different reasons, but it's so good to be back.
Absolutely. And yeah, that those things happen in life where unexpected events and because of technical challenges, people living around the world, it's not that easy. And we realize how much farther along we are, how much we still need one another. We still need each other, guys, and too often we treat people as disposable commodities. And when they no longer do what we need them to do the way we need to them to do it, we throw them away.
Mm.
And we say maybe not even thank you for your service. But when people become unuseful to us, it's easy for that to happen. So, in that realm, Mark, you and I were discussing before the show this amazing topic that you had that I think plays in right there. Would you introduce that for us today?
Yes, my thoughts about this is to what is our place in the interconnected relationships that we have? What is our value? What is our contribution? What is our responsibility? And what is our journey together with others? I can speak from personal experience. I have, ever since I was 16 years old or 17 years old, I always considered myself a lone wolf, not like the movies, the wolves that came out recently. The wolf that I can do this myself. I don't need anyone or any other help. And that was so foolish and so wasteful. So if you ever thought that you don't need anyone, well, you live on Earth. There's other people. So, if maybe you're on the wrong planet. And I know sometimes I can go against the grain, but that's it is. Sometimes we have to take risks even in our communication. And I have even after graduating from college, I still believe that going alone, solo, is the best way. And you have said that, you know, some people treat others as disposable. I think that's maybe a wrong, well, in my book, a wrong attitude entirely. They may not be aligned with you, but they're not disposable. You're not disposable. I am not. And maybe they're just in a different realm. Let them go. I always go back to the scripture, the New Testament. And one of the apostles said, how many times should we forgive our brother? 7 times? No, 7 times, 7 times. And forgive them and welcome them back into our lives.
But that is so tough. And in our world today, people don't do things like that. They don't forgive people and really, really give them grace at times.
It's the journey of the ego, of elimination and destruction of the personal ego. You may think, well, what I'm gonna give them the peace of my mind. I'm gonna ruin their day, or I will, like you said, march in there and do the marching orders. I will yell at them. And what's the point? You will hurt your relationships. You will hurt your place in the community. And then what?
And you may be completely right. And that's the bad part. You might be completely right about everything you're saying, but you're still wrong.
That's a paradox, my friend. So
It
what
is.
what are your thoughts on that?
I believe that so often we lose who we are in our convictions. And when we do that, we become the cause instead of a cause that we support. The cause becomes us, or the fight becomes us. And if it's your cross to carry, carry that cross. I'm talking, do it. But too often people are willing to die on crosses that weren't even built for them. And and I think that that's important to understand today as we become more interconnected with our technology, with our advancement in communication. I think you hit the nail on the head, Mark. It is the time for us to be completely intentional with our communication or lack thereof. And as we go in our different circles, think of our faith family, our church, our family, our friends, the guys from the office, the cool ladies from the office that play bridge, you know, a- and we can find ourselves separating so much that in all of our differences, we've seen history repeat itself time and time and time again. This is not a new thought by any means. It's that people are selfish and people a lot of times have their own best interests at heart. But that's where encouragement, it takes all of that and turns it on its head. And we're able to almost bully the bullies, but still give them compassion, but
Mm.
with a backbone. And I think that encouragement could be very, it could be one of those things that we think of it's kind of wimpy. But in this particular context, Mark, what do you think is the most valiant in our approach?
Ooh. If it
Yeah,
was
bridge all that back in.
if it was easy, anyone could do it. But if you feel there's a call in your heart to evolve, to lead, you must heed that call, whatever that is. And a lot of times we start with our families, we lead in our families. You could be the breadwinner, you could be the emotional support, you could be the cool aunt or uncle or mom, dad. You have to lead your family first. That is the root of all encouragement. Starts in the family. And if you don't have a family, you can adapt or be adapted. When I say adapted, you create masterminds, you create communities, virtual, physical, and that becomes your family. And you lead that family and you show up. As you know, I teach an improv class for the last 4 years online, and it has taken evolution, growth of its own. I wanted to reach as many people as possible. And at the same time, some participants have, couldn't be part of that circle because, they didn't like me or they didn't like the way things were going. But I still show up for the people that need encouragement. And the reason that I teach improv is so I can improve. It's a play on words, but it's so true. I always thought of myself as a very strict, very technical, disciplined in my approach. So I need that playfulness. So by teaching it, I introduce it in my life and it helps to resolve conflicts. it helps to not eliminate ego, but decrease it, put it down, um, and not be overtaken with it.
Ego. Ego. There comes that word that it defines us and it scares us, I believe. Ego. We never want to be egotistical, but we always want to be remembered. So as you approach these paradoxes, you have a challenge. And that's what today's, I believe, episode is evolved to be. It's a challenge to know yourself, to know your communication, strengths, weaknesses. And Mark, when you're working with those first folks, like you did with me, what do you see in those that are ultimately successful in crafting their communication cohesively and comprehensively?
There's many different things. One of them I have observed is the earth is being earnest in wanting to improve, being open to feedback, taking the ego and pulling it back, putting the brakes on it, and letting the other guide, lead the way. So it's being coachable. I think that's one of the biggest starting points. And second point, taking action. So be coachable and take action. Be coachable and take action. That's what I have seen one of the most significant traits of the most amazing students that you and I have seen, and you and I have worked with. If you're not coachable, how can you learn? How can you take in new information? And what I have seen, there's a lot of studies that have been going on, and especially in the Western world, where people pretend or stay busy, but they're truly not accomplishing anything. And at the end of the day, they may feel empty or displaced or even just exhausted, and they ask themselves, what did I do? Nothing. And that's very sad and can be depressing. And then at the end of the week, what did you do? Well, I did this, that, but really haven't accomplished what I wanted. And I think that there is this, it's a safety mechanism maybe, where you fill your life with something just to stay busy, but not keep, but don't move forward in a meaningful way. And I have seen it in my life. I have seen it in so many others. So ask yourself, am I just staying busy for the sake of appearing busy to myself and to others, or am I really moving forward? That's another thing. I know this episode is evolving, so I'm glad.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much. I was wondering just about for those that are they come to us and they say, I'm the most egotistical person in the world. Please help me. Never had that one, have we?
You made me laugh, my friend. You made me laugh. That is so good.
But in our world, in communication, public speaking, there's ego. Ego's front and center. That's how people are built is by their brand. Their brand is typically their ego. So, do you agree with that? I can tell you what something to say. How do you feel about that?
Oh, the ego moves you forward to take action. It moves you
Absolutely.
forward. So it's the fuel. So take somebody with oversized ego and somebody who is still working up to it. The bigger ego may force you to take more action. And that's, I think, is a big driver. But I do have something to say, add later. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because I'm just
I
going
have
to talk about how to work with those that are egotistical, how to work with their attitudes. But go ahead there.
one thing I recall one of my early mentors, Dr. Diane, she said, every time you speak, you give a gift to your audience. And at first I thought, wow, okay, what kind of gift? Do I have a gift? And what is this gift? And she said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Focus on this. Every time you speak, you give a gift to your audience.
Mm.
I only now understand the full meaning behind those words. So thank you, Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan, is that when you starting out to communicate in public, one to many, one on video, millions, hundreds, thousands, or hundreds of millions, or in person, there's a lot of speakers who are driven by ego, and they may be competent, but when you listen to them, when the talk is over or the panel is finished, you have this very heavy feeling in your heart, like they're trying to um, shove something down your throat. They very forceful, very heavy, and you feel it behind those words. Um, but when you start with, I'm going to share a gift of some sort with my audience, when that is your foundation, once you establish that, then you can move to serve your audience in different ways by offering different resources, different ideas, different thoughts. So I feel that foundation of that generosity has to be there, and only after that you can move into more technical and more specific logisticals of how to serve your audience better. Because you don't want to be that speaker that has that bad feeling, that heavy feeling, and you think, what did I just listen to? It was 30 minutes, but I felt it was like 3 hours. Please, somebody make it stop.
I made it stop for just a second for you there, Mark. So that sound of someone just carrying on and carrying on, and they have no idea what they're talking about. You have no idea what they're talking about. You're all laughing, you're all smiling, but there is no real connection in that room whatsoever. It feels like you're on 500 first dates all at once. So, how how do we deal with people that struggle with these things? Well, we appeal to their ego, right? We appeal to their self-interest when we're dealing with people that maybe deal with being too egotistical. Number two, just kind of like in a Toastmaster setting, we highlights their strengths to compare it with their gaps and acknowledge what they're good at. In doing that, you're going to make them say, yes, yes, tell me more. I love to hear good things. But while you're doing that, just slip in there, not like, oh, but here you're awful. If you really care about this person, just say, hey, here's something that you can work on. Because here's the thing, I can't change myself a lot. I definitely can't change this person to accept feedback the way I want them to. So, encouraging self-reflection to someone that's egotistical is a little difficult. So, create opportunities for them to create mistakes, challenges, and then to reflect on them. Why? Because reflection and failing at something shows someone with an ego that they have limits. And that's necessary for dealing with a person that has a real big ego issue, because when they learn limitations, they begin feeling teachable again. So don't give up on a friend if they're egotistical. Instead, just encourage their curiosity, encourage their small wins. And you guys will make the prize together. So, but I just had a few things there that I remembered um, about how to deal with people that are egotistical is we just help their ego. Everybody
Work with
wins.
what you got. Would you? would you reckon that the rise of social media only adds to the ego addiction and disease that has been always happened since the man walked on his 2 feet? That
Ab Absolutely, Mark. I know someone rising in the rising social media ranks right now, and I thought you and I did a lot of feedback, not now, but previously. And my word, it is constant self-evaluation. How even if their post the day before made 800,000 views, it does not matter. This is a new day. And it's like, do you just realize that you're ticked off about getting 600,000 views instead of 800,000? Poor you. But they've worked hard. They've been diligent. They've been realizing a vision, bringing that vision to reality. And I can see why I would be passionate. I can see why I would feel that ownership drive and I would put my all into it. But at the end of the day, successful business does not define you.
hmm, there's more to life than business. Is that what you're telling me, Nick?
Yes, there's even art, and it's called encouragement. No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Business has its necessary place at our table. Without entrepreneurs, without capitalism, without or any other things there, you know, our world would look different than it does now. The entire landscape of the world would be affected. And, you know, because of our economics, climate, and situations around the world, we see different people living different qualities of life in a time where it's so not even necessary. And so I think it really comes from a place of where you begin and then kind of the day you wake up. And no, we're not promoting the woke movement or any other political. Yeah, let me just put that in there right now. We are not endorsing any political party anywhere. So,
I know
it's
it's hard. It's hard not to endorse or even not to be affected by it because it is present in your face. But like all things, things change, move on, and cycle and cycle again, and the life moves on.
that's
You
it.
know what interesting as I hear you talk, I reflect every time we have a meeting, like you for this broadcast with our other co-host Greg and other wonderful guests. We have few guests lined up till the end of the year and beyond. I also heard this interesting thing: thrive in 25. Are you ready to thrive in 25? It's kind of rhymey,
Yeah.
cutesy, but it does work. Are you ready to thrive in 25? Why not start in October of 24 to lay the foundation for it to thrive in 25? And
Absolutely.
and I believe words have energy. The way you select from your speaking apparatus, from your mind, where it will land in your surroundings and in your life. So speak into what you want, and let's lay the groundwork and the ground foundation for your success to thrive in 25.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mark. And I just found it finally. The question you asked, I think, is one that is amazing. Am I just appearing busy or am I appearing busy for the sake of others? Ego plays a huge part in that, right? Because if we don't care about what others think, we're not going to do anything for them to begin with. That's not going to be our motivation. And what keeps us going instead of doing a good job, just appearing busy so that they'll see us busy. It doesn't benefit us, it doesn't benefit them. So if you're struggling with that as we end our broadcast today, I've got a few questions that I'm going to ask you to close, and then Mark will close us out. Here's your 10 questions. Am I just appearing busy, or am I appearing busy for the sake of others? Do you feel satisfied after a busy day? Number two, are your tasks aligned with your long-term goals? Three, how do you react when there's no audience? Four, are you afraid of saying no? Five, do you use busyness as a shield? Number six, do you feel the need to justify your busyness? Number seven, who benefits from your busyness? Reflect on this one right now. I haven't gone Nick mode on any of these. I've got to speak here, but reflect on who gains from your efforts. If your productivity mainly serves your own ambitions and your passions, it's authentic. That's what you love. But here's the thing, if you're busy mainly to please, impress, or avoid disappointing others, your obsession is perception. Don't be that person. Fall in love with you. You are beautiful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and there is no one else like you. Don't try and be like anyone else. Okay, preaching moment over. Number 8, how do you feel about downtime? If you're struggling with that, or you fear that people will view you as lazy, you're stuck in a cycle of performative busyness. Number 9, you feel overwhelmed or empowered. Authentic busyness comes with a sense of empowerment and purpose, even during challenging times. But if you're constantly overwhelmed, drained, or resentful, it's because your busyness is about appearances instead of meaningful outcomes. And number 10, I promise it's the last one. I'm sorry, Mark. Is your schedule packed with shallow or deep work? Genuine productivity often involves deep, focused work that requires effort and concentration. If your schedule is filled with surface level tasks that keep you moving but don't really matter, just a sign of performative busyness. Mark, over to you, sir.
That was a wonderful well of questions to ponder. Thank you, everyone who stayed with us today. We invite you to continue the conversation with us after the show. Send us a message, send us a question, a comment. Make sure you share. This really helps us to reach more people who need to hear from us, and invite you to be part of our community. Truly care to hear about you and make you shine. So let's get you, some people say, let's get you famous, let's get you successful, let's get you booked, let's get you paid. And we can help you with any one of those through our work in TEDx, book publishing, and overall your marketing positioning. So let us know how we can help and encourage you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Mark. Have a wonderful week, guys. We'll see you next year on The Art of Encouragement.
Thank you all.